So today we have a team from NielsonIQ basis. They will discuss the evolution and evolution of packaging and how the pack has evolved its role in the marketing mix. The role of packaging has radically changed in response to the ever-evolving retail landscape and shopper behavior. Your packaging is your only own media that you control and communicate your brand messaging across all omni-channels, creating purposeful shopper experience. Your packaging must do hard work to connect with omni-channel shopper, and it's not about where, it's about how they shop. Today, the purpose of the packaging is to engage, is to influence and inspire shoppers on their path to purchase at the moment of sale. Now, I would like to introduce to you Lauren Galetta, VP Basis Canada, NielsonIQ, Toronto, and Kyle McKinley, VP Basis Design, NielsonIQ, joining us from Chicago. Lauren leads NielsonIQ Canada Basis team, and it's passionate about helping brand owners make the most of their launches. Kyle leads NielsonIQ Basis design team and has helped develop several of our product offerings in the packaging research space. Kyle is passionate about helping companies find best consumer-facing version of their brand across various categories. So Lauren, Kyle, please take us through your presentation.
Thanks very much, Darko, for the introduction. We're really glad to be here with all of you today. So here's an overview of what we'll cover today. I'll be walking you through the first three topics, and then I'll hand it over to Kyle for our last topic. The topics I'll cover are packaging's role in general and the changing retail landscape, some breakthrough innovation examples that really leverage their packaging as part of the marketing mix. Also, we have a hunch that sustainability might be a part of your packaging brief, so we wanted to talk about sustainability within design as well. Then Kyle's topic will cover things to think about when you're redesigning your package. Okay, so I imagine that we can all appreciate that the evolving path to purchase really changes things in our industry. The path to purchase is more complex than ever before. Some great examples to illustrate why that is. So the way that consumers interact with products is changing along with it. So take a few seconds to think about the different ways that you've purchased products in the past year. How is that different than how you shopped maybe 2 years ago or 5 years ago? You probably think through a bunch of different changes. So you might have thought about online shopping for everything from groceries to clothing, but maybe cosmetics or something bigger like an appliance or a car. Really, the world is changing. And now think about, why were you comfortable considering a purchase for something so big or so different than what you've done before online versus where you want to go in person historically? Are you always buying something that you've purchased before from a brand that you always use? Maybe you had a recommendation from a friend via the phone, via Facebook or Instagram. Or did you review all the product specs that are available online or read reviews from people who've used that product before? With the changing paths to purchase and the marked increase in online shopping, your pack needs to work hard for you in more channels than ever before. It has to work at the physical shelf, which is still really important, the virtual shelf, and it might have to be Instagrammable too. Globally, with the statistic on the left, about 2/3 of people claim to be shopping both in-store and online, and numbers in Canada that are down towards the bottom right are pretty similar, a little bit lower for shopping in both channels. But at the same time, 40% of Canadians say that they're still shopping in-store only. Those people who usually shop online, so the graph on the right-hand side of this page, are out there looking for information when they shop. They're pretty keen and pretty knowledgeable when they're shopping online. They're looking to understand product specs, something that pack design really can critically help with, in reading benefit descriptions too. And while they're looking at specs, they're also kind of reviewing those online reviews. The ratings and reviews are reviewed about 61% of the time, really close in line with those product specs. Like Darko said, you can control what you communicate through your packaging. A different part of your team is probably controlling what that product is causing in online reviews. Both are equally important. So when shoppers seek information about your brand through your packaging, your pack design and format have to support that overall proposition. Packaging can really properly set expectation about the product experience. Having and featuring a product name or variety names that clearly communicate expectations is important too. Maybe you have to do that with an image as well as a name, and packaging sizes and formats that match the intended usage occasions are important, as well as protecting that product. You know, that's the #1 reason for packaging. Packaging truly has a variety of jobs to do. We like to break down those jobs in this wheel that we show here, and Kyle will refer to it again later as well. We refer to it across the shopper journey. I'll walk through that journey now. So it has 4 phases, starting in that top right with initial approach, and that's where we'll start. At this point in the shopper journey, if you're in a physical store, shoppers are approaching the shelf, maybe they're 6 to 10 feet away. They can see multiple packs on the shelf, but aren't close enough to see all the details of all the packs yet. They can see shapes, they can see colors, maybe some brand names. And at this point, shoppers aren't actively comparing products on the shelf, but the non-conscious, the part of our brain that we're not actively controlling, is doing a lot of work to help us sort things out. It's actually helping us to deselect from hundreds of packs in front of us, and picking just a few to look at more closely. How does the non-conscious do that? It does that by helping us focus on what is visible to us, recognizable, and also what's engaging. So the first responsibility of packaging is to be sure that it's seen, that it breaks through on the shelf, makes a quick connection to the brand, and makes shoppers want to learn more about it. The next step is active shopping. So at this point, you're closer to the shelf, maybe 2 or 3 feet away, and you may be comparing a couple of different packs that you noticed during your initial approach when you were farther away. The responsibility of the packaging at this point is to make sure that it can differentiate from competition by quickly communicating that point of difference, to ensure that shoppers can quickly and easily navigate the brand block if they're looking for a specific product within that brand. Next, there's the finalized decision. So down at the bottom left, that's where shoppers are standing really close to that shelf, and maybe holding the pack in their hand and deciding if they want to put it in their basket or their cart or not. The responsibility of the packaging there is to provide reassurance to close the sale by communicating key benefits in a way that's easy to take away in those precious seconds that you have. And then once the shopper journey at the store is complete, your packaging is brought home, and the role of packaging is not over. It still has a lot of work to do at home. At home, the packaging is the voice and the face of the brand, and it's responsible to make sure that consumers really make a connection with the pack and the brand over time. Every time the shopper opens their cupboard, opens their refrigerator, etc., packaging has the opportunity to make a connection to the brand, even at that non-conscious level that's always there. Since the shopper journey will start all over again once the products have run out, and because the first step of the shopper journey is non-conscious when you are further away and our brain is helping us deselect, the brand can leverage those non-conscious priming elements to give the pack a leg up during approach. So ultimately, successful packaging has changing roles and responsibilities across the process, and those roles are changing as the process change too. So the pack can't be successful at just one thing. It really has to be successful across that shopper journey to support your brand and your marketing mix. So now we're going to move from kind of high level and what packaging has to do to look at some breakthrough innovation examples that successfully leverage pack design as part of that marketing mix. So a little bit about our breakthrough innovation winners. This is actually the 10th year that we've established our breakthrough innovation report. And really within this, NielsonIQ and the Bases team looks to acknowledge who are the best innovations in market. It's usually based on how many sales these new products have over the first 2 years of their life. And what we see through these examples is that the brands and the creators who made them really wanted to leverage packaging as part of their story to communicate their benefits. Here are 4 examples that we'll share. The first one is Love Good Fats. This is a Canadian winner from our 2021 report. It was just published in December. It's a superstar winner, so one that had really broad appeal. And here's how this packaging came to life. After doing the work to create a winning proposition and refine the selling messages, the team really wanted to make sure that the packaging would work hard as part of their budget to communicate those benefits for the brand and drive sales. So you can see at the top of this package, and I can say that the kind of outer pack looks pretty similar to the inner pack that's around each bar. You can see the brand name at the top that conveys the term fats in a positive way. Then you can see the tagline emphasizes great taste. It might be small on your screen. It says ridiculously delicious. Something that we often see with healthier propositions is that there can be some skepticism that something that's supposed to be good for you will really taste good. So that type of claim can be important there. And then you can see the key nutrition facts featured on the pack too, to really back up the good in the Love Good Fats name. And then the variety name also is clearly communicated in text and with the picture here of the coconut and the chocolate. Our next example is also a Canadian winner, Smart Sweets. This was a winner from our 2020 report. And the packaging for Smart Sweets really clearly conveys the core properties of the product, but also evokes emotion too. And that's been critical to this brand's success. So it has a name, Smart Sweets, that clearly conveys the value proposition, that smarter option within sweets. The amount of sugar is clearly communicated on the pack, 3 grams of sugar per pack. That's pretty, probably, if it's small on your screen, it's right above the image of the sweet itself. And then the shape of candy is informative, so it's factual, but it's also emotive in that it really evokes images of your favorite childhood candies. And then the colors also really pop at shelf. While they're differentiated, they all really work together well to make a nice block. Okay, our next example here is Brawny Terra Square. It's a US example from 2021. We wanted to share this example because it's a line extension, so it has to work well on its own in terms of packaging, but has to at the same time fit with and differentiate from that existing kind of parent brand. And you can see the parent brand over on the right with the innovation on the left-hand side. So here, the Terra Square proposition is really communicated up in that top left, showing that it's easy to have kind of 4 squares, a traditional paper towel size, but you could also have 2 squares or 1 square. So really, you can choose the number of squares you need for whatever task at hand. It utilizes the equity of the current branding imagery of this red flannel shirt, but then at the same time has this new green background to pop versus the existing packaging for the parent brand. So similar, fits with the existing aesthetic, but differentiates so that you know what you're buying. Okay, and then our final breakthrough example here is Starbucks Creamer. This is a US winner, but it's launched in Canada as well, so you might be familiar with it. The team really wanted the pack to look nice, but also wanted it to specifically cue in-cafe experiences for at-home consumers. So the differentiated pack design that you can see pretty clearly on the left is designed to kind of cue premium, but also distinctiveness in an out-of-home experience that stays true to the Starbucks brand equity and also showcases the flavor experience for the caramel macchiato. So you can see it's drawn on the package the same way it would be drawn on your macchiato if you got it internal to a Starbucks. Another premium benefit here is the ergonomic bottle shape that's easy to hold in your hand. It also has a cap that allows you to kind of open it and pour it all one-handed while you're holding it. So it's an kind of ease of use and premium experience too. Okay. So we'll move to our next section, which is about sustainability. So sustainability is a hot topic. It's also one that we know Canadians are really passionate about. I wanted to give you some thoughts for if you're working sustainability into your brief. Okay, so it probably isn't a surprise that Canadian households truly care about sustainability. If we're looking at this chart, about 85% of Canadians tell us that sustainability is very important or important in general. And 39%, that dark green area, and we'll call them the dark green consumer, think sustainable lifestyles are very important. And what about a sustainable lifestyle is the most important to them? So if we go one layer deeper, they're telling us they care about climate change, water pollution, but also plastic waste that's really relevant within the packaging industry. 77% of those people, so that about 40% that's dark green, think it's important to reduce plastic packaging and to reduce packaging in general. That's a high level. Let's move to some examples that can really help bring this to life. Okay, so the first thing we talked about, packaging's #1 role is to really protect that product. Here are a couple of examples. One that's a really great example, one that's a watch out. So an example that's a great job of reducing packaging is Kellogg's muesli. So there's no flag on this, but this is an example from India. And what they were able to do is move from that bag in box design to a pouch design to reduce the amount of plastic in the package. Package still works, and because that package is resealable in the pouch, it still gives consumers confidence that the pack is hygienic and safe. Then the example on the right, which is from France, that bottle was redesigned to use less plastic, but didn't protect the product very well after all. So there's a flip cap on there, and some consumers were experiencing that when they put that bottle in their bag, it actually leaked because the pack didn't stay closed. So something that's not particularly convenient for on the go, which is where a lot of people are using this type of bottle. Okay. Also want to say that if you're trying to communicate something that could be really complicated, like sustainability, a really simple and easy to process call out can resonate best. We know and have seen that the color green really draws attention and cues sustainability. So if you put it in green, people will associate that with sustainability and then want to read more. There's also some really simple messaging within there. So the Dove example is showing that the product is compressed, but doesn't use kind of propellants to have that product come out. The Kleenex example is also a compressed one too. So the Kleenex are compressed within that box to take up less space and less cardboard as well. Okay. Another element of sustainable packaging is that it could require a behavior change on consumer standpoints. And so in these cases, the information about that behavior change is communicated somewhere that's really prime real estate on that packaging so that it is easy for consumers to understand what they have to do. So start with the Coke bottle in the middle where the cap actually says, recycle the bottle with the cap on. So you know that you don't have to throw that cap out. You can recycle it with the bottle. That's something that I think is really helpful because you might not be sure. The example on the left is a little bit more complex. It is a reusable bottle of a household cleaning product, and you can actually buy refills to put in it that you add water to. So the refills kind of are smaller, more compact, take less room to ship, less energy to ship, less packaging on the refills. So you're saving in the long term, but it's telling you, keep this bottle and refill it. Okay, so now I'm going to hand it over to Kyle and he will dive into redesign.
Great, thank you everyone. Thank you, Lauren. Nice to talk to everyone here. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit. Lauren referenced that shopper wheel at the beginning of the presentation, and that's really like core to how we think about packaging and how we evaluate pack design here at Bases. So one of the things that we do each year is we really want to encourage new brands to really invest in their packaging and really think about the packaging as that key lever that we all know it can be. And part of that is really providing the proof for that. So one of the things that we do We certainly do research throughout the year on any given client, any number of given client questions, but this is kind of a separate piece of thought leadership where we're taking a couple angles to look at restages that happened in market. So we're looking at restages that happened, at least a year ago. We want to have that really, pre and post shift period to be able to understand, was the pack able to provide a lift in sales? So here we're trying to, there's a lot of other factors that are happening in markets. There's, it's certainly not just the pack change that's happening at any one given time. But what we're really trying to do is like isolate for as much as we can, like the impact that the pack is having. So we're looking at taking out things like distribution, marketing spend, really trying to get down to like the core of the impact the pack had on sales. So that's kind of the first filter. We look at a bunch of redesigns, make sure that we think the pack had that positive lift in sales. And then we also we put it through a round of research, much like we would do on any given paid study that we do here at Nielsen. So that second step is really taking the ones that we saw to have that shift, that positive shift in market, and then putting it through the rigor of, okay, now let's look at in relation to that shopper wheel, let's look at the old and new version of the packaging and confirm that at each of those steps they were succeeding and putting out a pack that is exemplifying each of those traits well. And we don't need to see, when we think about a redesign, we don't need to see every single pack that we're including in the test leverage each of those steps to an advantage. And I'm going to click through to the next slide here. If we think about, I'm actually going to, oh, sorry. If you look at our winners for this year, they at least stayed static to the current design in each of those 4 sections of the shopper wheel, and then really took advantage of at least one of the areas. So if you look at our winners here, we've got winners from all over the world. A lot of different categories, a lot of different situations that they may have been redesigning for, but they really all did a great job of maintaining at least the current position in each of those 4 sections of the wheel, and then at the same time really taking that next step of okay, let's see where we can create some advantage across different sections of the shopper journey. So if we look here at that bringing that wheel back up, and these are the different areas that each of the different packs really highlighted or really successfully leveraged to really create that shift that we're seeing in sales. So if you look at some of the ones that had that initial approach, a lot of that story was about just how do we make the most of our presence at shelf. So thinking about not only our one pack, but how it looks as a line when we put it into a planogram setting, like what can we do to really drive the eye to our section of the shelf. When we get into active shopping, those are about items that are really able to make it easy to shop within the line. You're starting to really help people narrow down and find what they're looking for. Really prominent claims on a bunch of those packs that we'll dig into. Then when we get into the finalizing decision bucket, those are packs that are really able to, at the point in the shopper journey where we're trying to measure, are they are they putting it in their basket? Are they doing this at a higher rate than they did the current design? So those are packs that are really able to leverage the different parts of the design brief that the companies were aiming for, really exemplify the traits that they wanted to represent, really make sure that they're hitting on those, why am I different? Why would you put me in your basket versus the competitors at shelf? And then the at-home bucket, you'll see a couple of these, repeat a couple times. Something like the Sun Patch or the Marlton's Treats, they did a really good job of leveraging brand equity and really keeping it top of mind the next time you're going through this journey again. So we'll dig into each of these different buckets. We'll start with just going through the shopper journey. So we'll start with the initial approach as the first bucket here. So again, your job here is to really stand out. The way we measure this in one of our tests is to we're using web-based eye tracking, or in some cases even neuroscience-based eye tracking, to help understand which of the different parts of the shelf are helping pull your eye in that direction, and where are people able to are they just glancing at it, or are they able to really do a good job of holding you there and help you consider their options more than the competition. So those are the things we're trying to measure. And again, we've got some great examples from our winners of just ones that did this really well. So we'll look first at At this example here for this set of chocolate snacks, this is one of our winners from Mexico here. So if you look at this is a line of products, a little bit different, some different varieties in their line here. They're really trying to utilize in this new design a consistent architecture and structure that really helps the packs work together better at shelf. If we had looked at any of these packs in isolation on their own in the old version of them, there may not have been like as apparently, some downsides. That if we just looked at, just the red packs, maybe it's working well. You can see the product, it's leveraging that K equity that's in their branding. But they don't really work well together. And when you put them all next to each other, you can see that, a lot of the competition, it just flows a little bit better. There's not this like really harsh break between the items. They really wanted to leverage, a new design that was going to help them, pull the eye and like work together as a block of items. It's essentially like they're in the old version, they're all working on their own to pull your attention, whereas the new version, we've got this consistent like chocolate flow between them that also almost like looks like a wave between the packs, and really helps you, just helps them work together to attract attention as opposed to having to work even harder individually. If we look at another example of this, we've got a Berkeley and Jensen dog food here. So again, this is a little bit of a very different category here, but and different goals of the research at the same time. So they, in their old design, had like one big panel of information on the right-hand side that really wasn't getting a lot of contrast. It really wasn't getting a lot of attention. So they were really trying to just do something with the pack to help you kind of chunk the information a little bit better on pack and really get to all the key pieces, while at the same time really attracting your eye on shelf in the first place. So we know just the way that your eye sees things at shelf. Lauren mentioned this earlier, like one of the first things you see is like colors and shapes. You're not necessarily focusing on like text and images as the first things that you're seeing. So they really wanted to kind of create this central circle area on pack that had some strong contrast to really help draw your attention in. Some of the other packs in the category try to leverage this as well. Whenever you can create like a really strongly contrasted like central circle or shape element, it usually does help pull your eye, which was definitely something that we saw as successful here. So they were able to get people connected to the brand a little bit faster, allow their packs to break through in that kind of cluttered environment a bit more. And this is just a really nice example of exemplifying a lot of the principles and like ways you'd want to attract attention in this kind of context. So now that you've attracted people's attention in the first place, we're getting into the next job that you need to do, and that's about being shoppable, being able to convey your point of differentiation quickly, and really differentiate between the different variants in the line. So it's really just our brains like things to be as easy as possible. Like if you have to look really hard to like see what the benefits on a pack are, or you have to work really hard to like find the right variety or find the right scent in a lot of cases, like your brain likes things easy. So these are all good examples of packs that did a good job of just simplifying, making it nice and simple for you to shop their items and see how they're different than other things in the category. So the first example that we'll look at is Dawn Body Lotion here. So if you look at the old and new packs here, this is a winner from South Africa. It's pretty apparent some of the differences that they had. So in their original packaging, they had kind of this gradient of color across the packs. In a lot of situations, that is really difficult for the brain to process when you have this kind of consistent flow of color from one to another. It doesn't really allow you to focus on it doesn't help with the contrasting of the other elements on pack, and really makes it a little bit more difficult for the brain to process in a lot of cases. So they really, took their new pack, they introduced some new color blocking and new color contrast to really focus on the claims and really help differentiate from the competition, but also allow the variants to differentiate from each other. So it's a little bit more apparent or easy for shoppers to navigate between the items. We did a findability exercise where they were, told them, hey, go find the coconut butter variety and click on it as soon as you do. The new line was much more successful in being able to do that. So they emphasize the benefit of the product, repair, moisturize, silky, both through the claims, coupled with some of those prominent ingredient visuals that are a little bit easier to see in the new version here. Another example that we have in this section is, oh, I went 1, 2, 5, is our Sun Pat. So this is an example from the UK. This is for peanut butter. So one of the things that they did here was utilize the on-cap stickers to better define what makes their peanut butter special. So that packed with 95% peanuts, as a maybe uninformed consumer of the peanut butter category, I might have thought ahead of time that peanut butter was much higher in peanut percentage ahead of time, but it is like a differentiator that they have versus a lot of the other surrounding items in their category. So they really leveraged that and really leaned into their heritage there. That's something that people know them for. They made it a little more prominent on pack as one of the key things that that you would see as you interact with it. And they really consistently just called attention to that. So essentially they don't have a whole lot of real estate on pack here. They have, a pretty thin label and like that one sticker. So they have to really be efficient with the space that they have. So they really made sure that the branding was prominent, that peanut imagery kind of creates that crown at the top of the pack to really help draw your attention into the middle. And it also kind of like points your attention up to the main thing that they want you to take away, that is packed with 95% peanuts. So just a pack that did a really good job of leveraging the small amount of space that they have to be able to communicate their key points of difference. So we've, at this point, we've caught your attention. We've, made it a little bit easier to shop, hopefully. We're starting to narrow down the items, and now we're trying to measure, are you able to get over that hurdle of getting people to put the item in the basket? So when we think about this in a testing environment, the things that we're looking at here are a metric that we call purchase preference. So we'll put consumers through a mini discrete choice exercise where we're having them choose between, the current and new items that they have relative to the competitive context. So it's essentially like a simulated shopping exercise where we're able to model, based just on the packaging, is the new version kind of converting to that purchase a little bit faster. And really what we're looking at here is, are you able to do that? And like, what's the consumer reaction as I have this in my hand? So we're not thinking about, am I breaking through that competitive context as much anymore? It's like, as I'm like have this one item and I'm considering it, is it doing enough, as I have it up close to really convert that sale and get me to put it in my basket? So a couple of the items that did a really good job here, Clorox in the US, one of the goals of their redesign here was to really take a look at their pack hierarchy. So if you look at the old version here, it's giving an equal weight to a lot of the different elements on pack. So, they're trying to talk about a lot of things. Some of these little icons on the bottom of the pack here might be a little bit hard to read and like aren't as emphasized. And they really kind of took a look at like, what do we need to, what do we want people to take away from this, and what can we maybe deprioritize, move to the side of the pack, and really what can we make pop? So they went with a new simplified logo that still leverages a lot of that trusted brand heritage, but maybe moves it in a little bit more of a fresher, modern direction. They organized the focus of some of those key benefits along the central corridor of the pack to make it a little bit easier to read the text, and really just focus on the main benefit that they wanted people to take away, was that it kills 99% of viruses and bacteria here. Especially given the last couple of years, it was they put this redesign into place right before the pandemic, which is a very opportune time to start emphasizing some of the key benefits that I have on pack here. So it was a really good good foresights there to to really emphasize some of the key benefits. But with some of those updates, they were able to really create that trust and efficacy in shoppers and give that reassurance that they needed to close the sale versus other similar items that were in the aisle. Another good example, very different category, but thinking about French's mustard here. If you look at their old pack, it's not super outdated or anything, and it's not a revolutionary change by any means. If you look at the old to the new, there's a lot of the same equities. There's a lot of the same color cues. Definitely a category where people are shopping by some of those color cues a lot of times. So nothing that we would really want to move away from. If people are thinking about looking for the honey variety, there's a very clear color combination that they're looking for. If the spicy brown has this intuitive light brown background that they're looking for, so they didn't want to get away from that, but they really wanted to reestablish and redesign the line and really protect that iconic bottle shape that they have. That wasn't something that they wanted to get away with. They really just looked at like minimal updates and, excuse me, ways that they could use additional language that focused on that brand's heritage, and added that surrounding the flag. So they really, brought the flag a bit out of the kind of banner in the background. So they were able to, make that really pop by having it extend a little bit beyond the borders of their normal sticker. They leveraged that American flavor in a bottle logo above it to really kind of draw in some of that equity that they have as a parent brand and really tie that in with the logo. Whenever you're able to create like text and images or text and logos that's like right next to each other and like kind of overlays together, you're able to process that together. It's a big win whenever you're able to successfully do that, and they definitely were here. So again, they got at some of the flavor cues, some of the lack of artificial ingredients a little bit better, really gave shoppers the confidence that it's a high quality product from a brand they know and trust. So then when we get to our last section, I know there was a question earlier just about, how does, packaging really tie into, the brand story or like the, the brand equity that you have. And this is one of the most important buckets for that. So as we think about the brand's job or the pack's jobs as it gets into your home, at this point, I've purchased it. We really want to just be like most top of mind again the next time we're shopping this category. So as you see the product in your cabinet or as on a countertop, if it's a product that kind of lives out in the open in your home, you really wanted to just have drive those brand equities, drive the reasons like, oh yeah, that's why I bought it in the first place, so that it's top of mind again the next time you're buying the category. So the things that we're measuring here are, some of those, are they communicating key brand messages from what people are saying that they like and dislike about the pack? Are they focusing on the things that we would want them to take away to really have it be, apparent that it's going to be something they consider again next time? So we've got some of those winners that did a good job here. And then, just highlighting a couple of them, Pediasure. This is one of our winners in India this year. Really used the icons and imagery to really kind of create some connections and keep the product top of mind here. So if you look at the old to new here, there's a lot of similar elements again. So again, we've got this, the kind of growing kid imagery that they really wanted to maintain, but it was really taking up a lot of real estate on pack. So they were looking for a way of, hey, we've got a lot of, things, messages that we want to communicate here, and our current packaging is really hiding a lot of that. They've got some of that same text like in this little like mini section here on the left hand side of the pack. But as we look at the new design, they've created these icons. Again, when we're able to create an icon and a word that really intuitively fits together, it makes it nice and easy for your brain to process. So they've got like a height icon, an immunity icon, and a brain icon. It's like just makes it really easy for you to take away like, okay, like these are the things that this product is doing for my kid. And really, it's not even a packaging thing here. It's just like, more clearly communicating the benefits. Or sorry, it's not a design focused thing. It's more of a, how do we clearly communicate the benefits of our package for people. So, that did a really great job, led to increases in the brand fit perceptions that we saw in our testing, and really driving those same connections over time of, this is Pediasure's, something that's top of mind for me. It's something that I'm thinking of when I think of my kid's health, and it's going to be most prominent again when I actually get to the aisle the next time around. One other good example of this, we are just looking at another South Africa winner here. So this is for Marlton's dog treats. If you look at their old to new packaging here, this is another one where they're trying to utilize the visual of the pet itself to really help create some equity here. So in their original packaging, people love seeing their pets on the pack, so they had like one dog that was similar across all of their packs. But here they've leveraged a kind of a wider variety of dogs. They're kind of like peeking over, like they're trying to get a treat, and it also kind of creates this like nice smile feel to under the dogs to where it's just helps generate positive sentiment as at a non-conscious level when we think about how people are reacting to the pack. So they're able to play with those different images to help kind of create this look and feel across the line. It also helps differentiate between the items. you don't need to look as hard at the treat itself. If I know like, oh, I'm looking for the one with a husky on it, or I'm looking for the one with a pug on it that I usually buy. So just, kind of helps the shoppability, helps create these like memorable and unique images that help really keep them top of mind, and just create these associations with the brand itself, which was really nice to see in our research. So again, all of these packs did a good job across these 4 steps, but it's, really important when we're thinking about redesigns that, you're at least at parity with your current across each of these, or at least we're aware of why, what red flags there might be, if we're thinking about, moving in a new direction with our brand. Like maybe at first it's going to be a little bit harder for people to find recognize the brand and find it, but are we doing all of these other things better? Like, are we converting that purchase? Are we really making people think about our brand in the way that we want it to? That's going to really help drive ultimately those sales and a successful redesign. So yeah, with that, I think we we'll go to the question and answer portion. So I don't know if Darko, if you want to come back on, if there's been any questions, or actually kind of just leave it on. We had a couple just examples of some quotes from some of those winners, but I think given time, we can kind of jump into the Q&A section.
Thank you, Kyle, and thank you, Lizzie. It was a great presentation. I really enjoyed it and blew my mind. And one of these examples, when you were talking about the gradient versus blocking the color, as a designer myself, as a trade, I look at that and I said, no way that would strike me, because it's like, if I look at the archetype, I would be saying, well, these gradient fills is great to engage specific archetypes that I believe that belongs to, but then research, validates and tell us something different, which is another reason why research is very important before we go on the shelf. And we believe might work, might actually not work for that particular consumer in that particular area. So that was very insightful, really good. I have a couple of questions that came through. I think we have time. It's 12:45. So let's talk about this. Can you talk a little bit about how you proved out these designs were actually doing these jobs well, as they weren't other driving sales increments? Basically, what drove the success of these particular products itself?
Yeah, so we did, check and see, that, there was that sales increase. So that's kind of like step 1 of the process. So that, the year after they made the change, we saw that shift in sales in a positive direction. So it's okay, like, there's something going on here that we want to make sure that it's the packaging itself that's really contributing to that, not just, hey, I spent a ton of money on the redesign and, we're advertising all over the place, and that's what drove the sales. So we really wanted to, we then take it into the research. It's very similar to how we would do an actual study. So we kind of look at that shopper wheel. There's different versions of the research that we might consider, but really we're trying to get a metric in each of those 4 buckets to say, hey, did my new packaging help draw up shoppers at shelf better than my current, or at least to the same level? Were people able to find the right flavors in the line? So we made sure that at least, findability was static or better with the new designs. One of the, we think about these things fairly equally, but like one of the biggest ones is just like literally making it into your basket. So we look at, we run a whole study on having people go through shopping exercises between, the current design and competitors and the new design and competitors, based just on the packaging, not showing them pricing, not showing them a concept, not showing them anything, just the packaging itself. There's that uptick in preference for the new design. And then when you look at, the design brief to see, which, not only did people buy it, but which of them is better representing the brief. So we really need to like check all of those different boxes to say, hey, like we feel good that these examples that we just showed were, driving sales in a positive direction, and it was because of these pack changes that we put in place.
That's amazing. I had one more question here. Some of the examples you presented were from other countries. Can we apply this learning for those examples in Canada?
Yeah, so we had winners from all over the place, and there's certainly, things that work in certain markets that just don't work in others. So that, I think what we've tried to focus on here is the things that, are pretty unanimously something that we'd want to focus on. So it's always like really important to think about the competitive context here. We've done studies on, here's the same product, the same 3 designs that we're considering across a couple different markets, and we've had, different winners that come out in each scenario. And it's so much of it has to do with the competitive context and what other items are around it. So it's great to find a design that's like, works best when I'm just considering that one thing in my hand. Like, do I like this one pack I have in my hands? But, I'm able to find it in the first place versus the competition that it's around. Is it, standing out versus, is it the same color as everything in one market? And is it, does it have like, something that's like helping draw your eye or differently when we think about a different set of competitors in a second market? So, all of these things, the creating contrast to really highlight key elements, the creating a block of items that works well together to draw the eye at shelf, like those are all really important metrics, and I think important across any market. But how you actually execute that really does depend a whole lot on the competitive context that you're in. So it's always just it just makes testing in any market that you're in really important as a part of any redesign.
Yeah, I speak from my own experience doing a lot of international US packaging to Canada, and then we add another language. So you're fighting for that little bit of real estate space in your back, and they said now double up the amount of content on it, and good luck with that. That always throws a lot of, well, not all of them, but some of them coming from the States of Canada and saying, wow, how do we make sure that we spend so much time and money making sure that our packaging looks the way it looks at shelf, and now we're deleting, and then we add the complexity of the digital shelf. Now it gets even smaller. So it's very important that we think about those things before we start even designing. So really good insight. I have a question regarding sustainability. Do you have data to show that Canadians care about sustainability? And are you confident that they will really pay for sustainable packaging when it comes to the moment of truth? That's an interesting one. And
that's a great question. I think I can help with that one. So
go ahead,
we certainly have information to show that Canadian consumers and consumers in other markets care about sustainability. We also know that there can be a gap between what people say and what they do, in that if someone's asking you if you want to buy something that's really sustainable, you might say you want to buy it, but perhaps in reality you don't. The good thing is that that gap is largely predictable. So we often know the extent to which people are exaggerating. What we do see through research is that as long as there's something in it for the consumer, at the same time as there's something in it for the planet, that is a great place to start. If you have a product that is kind of an average price point, say it should at least be as convenient as other packages and still deliver the benefits that other products in the category at that price point can deliver. If it's something that's a more premium price point, you have to probably also deliver on something extra, either with the package or with the product itself, while still kind of meeting all those baseline elements. Like if it's a cleaning product, you need confidence that it will work. If it is something that kind of doesn't have a lot of those ingredients that might be harmful to the environment. So I think it will depend on the price point, and depend on what the other benefits in the category are. And if you want to charge more for sustainability, there has to be something else that's extra for them.
That's great. That's very insightful. Thank you. I have one more question here. Your presentation referred to breakthrough innovation winners. Could you tell us how you selected those winners?
Sure. So those are relatively similar to what Kyle was talking about, in that we want to always be selecting winners objectively based on sales. And so for our breakthrough innovation winners, the first thing we look at is in-market data. And often we want to see that the winners meet a minimum sales threshold. In the US, it's usually about $50 million. In Canada, it's usually about $7 million for year one. And then we want to see that it grows or sustains in year two. So it's typically a long-term time period. We also at the same time acknowledge that there are a number of different ways to be successful. Sometimes there are short-term plays that are really successful, only designed to be in market a month or 3 months. And then there are other things that are kind of a more emerging play that will start out slowly and grow as they go. So it's always based on data, but then we want to make sure they're really bringing new benefits and doing the job that they were specifically designed to do.
Okay,
Question.
just looking at some other questions here. Open me, technology. Okay, I think we are kind of coming to conclusion here. I think we answered all the questions for now. They're very relevant. I do want to ask you all to rate our webinar at this moment and let us know how we did. I would like to take a moment and really thank Lauren and Kyle for this an amazing presentation, their time, and a team from NielsonIQ and Basis Canada, and Kyle joining us from Chicago. Thank you all for joining us. I think we will, if we don't have any more questions, I would like to conclude our seminar. Hope to see you again. Please join us on the other seminars coming in the next couple of months. Thank you all. Please stay tuned and stay safe and have a great day.
Thanks, Darko. Thank you, Pat, for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.